He never expected those words to change his life forever. As Mark sat alone on that park bench, exhausted from another sleepless night of single parenting, a little girl with bouncing curls and a yellow dress came running toward him, arms outstretched. "Daddy," she called out, her voice filled with pure joy. But she wasn't his daughter. If you've ever wondered how strangers can become family in the most unexpected ways, this story will touch your heart. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories that remind us of the power of human connection. Mark Reynolds stared at the empty space beside him on the park bench, the weight of solitude pressing down on his shoulders. 6 months had passed since Ellie's mother had walked out, leaving him to raise their 4-year-old daughter alone. Today was supposed to be his weekend with Ellie, but his ex-wife had called last minute with some excuse about a work emergency. So here he sat, in the park they always visited together, surrounded by happy families that only amplified his loneliness. The autumn air carried the scent of fallen leaves and distant barbecues. Children's laughter echoed across the playground, a symphony of joy that made Mark's heart ache. He checked his phone again, no messages, no calls. Just the wallpaper of Ellie's smiling face looking back at him. He should go home, he thought. There was no point torturing himself by sitting here alone. Just as he was about to stand, a flash of yellow caught his eye. A little girl, perhaps 5 or 6 years old, was running full speed across the grass toward him. Her dark curls bounced with each step, her yellow dress fluttering behind her like butterfly wings. Before Mark could process what was happening, she launched herself at him, tiny arms wrapping around his neck. "Daddy! I found you," she exclaimed, her voice bright with excitement. Mark froze, his hands hovering awkwardly in the air. The child pulled back, her wide brown eyes staring into his with complete trust. For a moment, he thought she had mistaken him for someone else, but the recognition in her eyes was unmistakable. I think you've got the wrong person," Mark stammered, gently trying to disentangle himself from her embrace. The little girl's face scrunched in confusion. "No, you're my daddy. Mommy showed me your picture." Mark's heart raced. What was happening? He scanned the park frantically, looking for anyone who might be searching for this child. That's when he noticed a woman hurrying toward them, her expression a mixture of embarrassment and concern. "Lily! What are you doing?" The woman reached them, slightly out of breath. "I'm so sorry," she said to Mark. She just took off running. Up close, Mark could see the exhaustion in the woman's eyes, the same kind he saw in his own reflection every morning. She wore simple jeans and a faded t-shirt, her dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. "It's okay," Mark said, still confused. "But I think she's mistaken me for someone else." The woman's face flushed. "Lily, honey, this isn't," she stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening as she looked at Mark more carefully. "Wait. Mark? Mark Reynolds?" Now it was Mark's turn to be surprised. "Yes? Do we know each other?" The woman's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God. It's me, Sarah. Sarah Chen. We were in the same class at Westlake High." Recognition dawned slowly. Sarah Chen, they'd been lab partners in chemistry during senior year, before life had taken them in different directions. She looked different now, more mature, but her eyes were the same, kind and intelligent. "Sarah? Wow, it's been what, 15 years?" Mark said, standing up to greet her properly. The little girl, Lily, was still clinging to his leg, looking up at them both with curious eyes. "At least," Sarah replied with a small smile. "I'm so sorry about Lily. I don't understand why she—" "He looks like Daddy in the picture," Lily interrupted, her voice matter-of-fact. Sarah's smile faltered. "Lily, honey, why don't you go play on the swings for a minute? I need to talk to Mr. Reynolds." Lily looked reluctant but eventually nodded and skipped toward the playground, glancing back at them every few steps. Sarah sat down on the bench beside Mark, her hands fidgeting in her lap. "I should explain," she said quietly. "Lily's father, he passed away 2 years ago. Cancer. I've kept his pictures around the house so she wouldn't forget him. He had dark hair and a beard like yours. From a distance, I suppose there's a resemblance." Mark felt a pang of sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. That must be incredibly difficult." "It has been," she admitted. "Especially lately. She's been asking more questions about him, wanting to know why other kids have daddies and she doesn't." Sarah glanced toward the playground where Lily was now swinging, her yellow dress catching the sunlight. "Sometimes she pretends to see him places. The therapist says it's her way of processing." Mark nodded, understanding all too well the complexities of raising a child through loss, though his circumstances were different. "I get it. My daughter Ellie is 4. Her mother left us 6 months ago. She was supposed to be with me today, but..." He trailed off, not wanting to burden Sarah with his problems. But plans changed, Sarah finished for him, a knowing look in her eyes. "That happens a lot in our world, doesn't it?" For the first time that day, Mark felt a connection, someone who understood the daily struggles of single parenthood. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching Lily play. "So, what brings you to this park alone?" Sarah finally asked. Mark explained about his tradition with Ellie, how they came to this park every Saturday morning. "I guess I couldn't break the routine, even without her," he admitted. "Pathetic, right?" "Not at all," Sarah said softly. "After James died, I kept ordering his favorite coffee for months. Sometimes I just sit with it at the table, pretending he was across from me." She gave a self-deprecating laugh. "We all cope in our own ways." Their conversation flowed easily after that, catching up on the years that had passed. Sarah was a pediatric nurse now, working night shifts so she could spend days with Lily. Mark told her about his job as an architect, how he'd recently switched to working from home to be more available for Ellie. They were so engrossed in conversation that they almost didn't notice Lily returning, her cheeks flushed from playing. "I'm hungry, Mommy," she announced, leaning against Sarah's knees. Sarah checked her watch. "It is lunchtime, isn't it? We should probably get going." Mark felt a surprising disappointment at the thought of them leaving. "There's a good sandwich place just across from the park," he suggested. "If you don't have other plans, maybe we could grab lunch together?" The invitation surprised even himself. He hadn't socialized much since becoming a single parent, finding it easier to retreat into the routine of work and caring for Ellie. Sarah hesitated, then smiled. "That would be nice, actually. What do you think, Lily? Should we have lunch with Mr. Reynolds?" Lily nodded enthusiastically, reaching out to take Mark's hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Can I sit next to you?" she asked him. "Of course," Mark replied, feeling a warmth spread through his chest at the child's innocent trust. The sandwich shop was cozy and not too crowded. They found a table by the window, and Lily insisted on sitting between them, chattering happily about her morning at the park. Mark found himself laughing more than he had in months, drawn into the little girl's imaginative stories and Sarah's gentle humor. As they were finishing their meal, Mark's phone rang. It was his ex-wife, calling to say she could drop Ellie off after all, if he was still free. Mark felt a mix of emotions, joy at seeing his daughter, but also a strange reluctance to end this unexpected lunch. "Everything okay?" Sarah asked, noticing his expression. "Yes, actually. That was my ex. She can bring Ellie by after all." He hesitated. "I should probably head home to meet them." "Of course," Sarah said, understanding in her eyes. "It was really nice running into you, Mark." "You too," he replied, meaning it. He looked at Lily, who was carefully arranging her potato chips in a circle on her plate. "And it was very nice meeting you, Lily." Lily looked up at him with those trusting brown eyes. Will we see you again? Mark glanced at Sarah, not wanting to overstep. Well, that's up to your mom. Sarah tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, looking slightly nervous. We come to that park most Saturdays, actually. If you and Ellie ever wanted to join us. I'd like that, Mark said, surprised by how much he meant it. Ellie could use a friend, and honestly, so could I. They exchanged phone numbers before parting ways, with promises to meet the following weekend. As Mark walked home, he felt lighter somehow, as if the chance encounter had shifted something inside him. When Ellie arrived, bubbling with stories about her morning with her mother, Mark listened attentively, but part of his mind kept drifting back to Sarah and Lily. He found himself telling Ellie about the little girl in the yellow dress who might become her new friend. Does she like dinosaurs? Ellie asked seriously, clutching her favorite T-Rex toy. I don't know, Mark admitted. But we can ask her next Saturday. The week passed in a blur of work deadlines and preschool pickups. Mark was surprised to receive a text from Sarah on Wednesday, a picture of Lily holding up a drawing she'd made of their lunch together. 3 stick figures sat at a table, a tall one with a beard, a medium-sized one with a ponytail, and a small one in what was clearly meant to be a yellow dress. She's been talking about you and Ellie all week, Sarah's message read. I hope that's okay. Mark smiled and showed the picture to Ellie, who immediately wanted to make a drawing in return. They spent the evening creating artwork together, and Mark sent a photo of their masterpiece to Sarah, Ellie's interpretation of 2 little girls playing on swings while 2 grown-ups watched from a bench. By the time Saturday rolled around, both Mark and Ellie were excited about their park playdate. They arrived early, and Mark found himself scanning the paths anxiously, wondering if Sarah and Lily would actually show up. Is that them, Daddy? Ellie asked, pointing toward the park entrance. Mark turned to see Sarah and Lily walking hand in hand toward them. Lily was wearing the same yellow dress, and when she spotted them, she broke into a run, just as she had the week before. You came, she exclaimed, stopping just short of hugging Mark this time, suddenly shy in Ellie's presence. Ellie stepped forward, clutching her dinosaur toy. I'm Ellie. I'm 4. Do you like dinosaurs? Lily's face lit up. I love dinosaurs. I have a stegosaurus at home. He's my favorite. Just like that, the ice was broken. The girls ran off toward the playground, already deep in conversation about their favorite prehistoric creatures, leaving Mark and Sarah standing together, watching them go. Looks like they're going to get along just fine, Sarah observed with a smile. Seems that way, Mark agreed. Thank you for coming. This is the most excited I've seen Ellie in a long time. Same with Lily, Sarah admitted. She laid out that dress last night and was up at dawn asking if it was time to go yet. They settled on the same bench where they'd met, falling into easy conversation while keeping an eye on the girls. There was something comfortable about Sarah's presence, Mark realized. No pressure, no expectations, just 2 parents sharing a moment of peace while their children played. That Saturday meeting became a tradition. Each week, the girls grew closer, and so did Mark and Sarah. They began to coordinate other activities, trips to the children's museum, picnics in the park, movie afternoons when the weather was bad. Ellie started asking to call Lily during the week, and the 2 would chat enthusiastically about their days while Mark and Sarah exchanged amused glances over video calls. 3 months after their chance meeting, Sarah invited Mark and Ellie over for dinner. It was the first time they'd been to her apartment, a cozy 2-bedroom filled with books and Lily's artwork. As the girls played in Lily's room, Mark helped Sarah prepare dinner, moving around her small kitchen as if they'd been doing it for years. They're inseparable now, Sarah commented, nodding toward the sound of giggles coming from down the hall. I know, Mark agreed. Ellie asks about Lily constantly. It's been good for her, having a friend who understands what it's like to have a parent missing from their life. Sarah nodded, her expression thoughtful as she stirred the pasta sauce. Lily asked me something interesting yesterday, she said after a moment. She wanted to know if you were her new daddy now. Mark nearly dropped the plates he was holding. Oh. What did you tell her? The truth, Sarah replied, not meeting his eyes. That you're Ellie's daddy, and our friend. But it got me thinking about how much time we've been spending together, and what that might mean to the girls. Mark set the plates down carefully on the counter. Over the past months, his feelings for Sarah had grown beyond simple friendship, but he'd been careful not to push, aware of the complicated dynamics involved when children were part of the equation. What does it mean to you? He asked quietly. Sarah finally looked up at him, vulnerability in her eyes. I didn't expect this, Mark. After James died, I thought that part of my life was over. I was focused on being everything Lily needed. But then you and Ellie came along, and suddenly I'm feeling things I didn't think I'd feel again. Mark took a step closer to her. I know what you mean. When Lisa left, I was so angry and hurt. I couldn't imagine trusting anyone again. But with you, it's different. It's easier. Natural. But there's so much at stake, Sarah whispered. It's not just about us. If this doesn't work out. I know, Mark acknowledged. The girls are already so attached. We need to be careful. Before Sarah could respond, Lily and Ellie came running into the kitchen, breaking the moment. Mommy, can Ellie sleep over sometime? Lily asked, tugging on Sarah's shirt. Yeah, Daddy, can I? Please. Ellie added, looking up at Mark with pleading eyes. Mark and Sarah exchanged glances, a silent understanding passing between them. Whatever was developing between them, they needed to proceed with caution, for the sake of their daughters. We'll see, Sarah told the girls. Now, who's ready for spaghetti? The evening passed pleasantly, with board games after dinner and ice cream for dessert. When it was time to leave, both girls protested, not wanting the night to end. We'll see each other on Saturday, Mark reminded them. Just like always. As he and Ellie were putting on their coats, Lily suddenly threw her arms around Mark's legs. I wish you could stay, she said, her voice muffled against his jeans. Mark knelt down to her level. I wish we could too, Lily. But we'll be back soon, I promise. Lily looked at him seriously. When my real daddy was here, he always kissed me goodnight. Will you kiss me goodnight too? Mark's heart constricted. He glanced up at Sarah, who gave a small nod, her eyes shining with unshed tears. Of course, he said softly, placing a gentle kiss on Lily's forehead. Sweet dreams, Lily. As they drove home, Ellie fell asleep in her car seat, exhausted from the excitement of the evening. Mark's mind was full of the conversation with Sarah, and Lily's innocent request. He realized that they were at a crossroads, continuing as they were meant, acknowledging that they were becoming something like a family, with all the responsibility that entailed. The next morning, he called Sarah. Can we talk? Just the two of us? They arranged to meet during their lunch breaks at a cafe halfway between their workplaces. Sarah was already there when Mark arrived, a cup of coffee cooling in front of her. About last night, Mark began after ordering his own drink. I've been thinking about it all morning, Sarah admitted. About what Lily said, and what we were discussing before the girls interrupted. Me too, Mark said. Sarah, I care about you. A lot. And I care about Lily too. These past few months have been the happiest I've had in a long time. I feel the same way, Sarah replied. But I'm scared, Mark. Lily's already lost one father. If she gets attached to you.